Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anita Thomas, and I am coming to you from my kitchen. Today, we want to embark upon the journey of baking. November 16th, 2020, Beth Ewen wrote in Time magazine, "Bread is a staple, but cake brings joy." And today, we will experience a little bit of joy. Our goal of the presentation, my goal of the presentation, is to show how in 3 simple steps with quality ingredients and proper measuring, you can create a wonderful cake. Any cake making adventure begins with gathering ingredients. And as you see here on my table, we have a number of ingredients. November 2022, R.B. Parnes wrote in November Health Library, "So while you will not necessarily get sick from eating expired foods, its freshness and nutrient value may be diminished." With that, no one wants to get sick. So I have, of course, checked all expiration dates, but just so you can see here on our baking powder, the expiration date is on the bottom of the can. That's June 19th, 2025. We want to see here that our sugar has an expiration date of August 25th, 2025. Our flour here, our gold medal, it has a date of February 2nd, 2025. Just to point out a few of our expiration dates. Also, I want to note that our ingredients fall into categories. We have processed pantry foods, which have tabs and labels. And then we have refrigerated items. Okay, that's important because R.B. Parnes said the quality of processed foods should be fine until open, but we're not going to test it. We're going to make sure that everything is within the expiration dates. Okay, now that we've checked our expiration dates, you want to make sure that measuring and mixing of ingredients, that's critical to help produce a delectable cake. With that, in 2012, Simon Quaylen Field wrote in Chicago Review, "For people to reproduce a culinary masterpiece, it is important to carefully weight, measure according to a recipe." The recipe that we are using today is one that I've used many times, and so with that, we're going to just dive right in. We're going to talk about our measuring tools. Measuring tools are important as well. So as you can tell, we have dry ingredients, which is our flours and our baking powder. With that, we have tools that are used specifically for measuring dry ingredients. We have a dry measuring cup. With this, the items should be placed within the cup until full. Once it is full, you then want to use a knife and you want to brush off the excess. Now you have 1 cup of flour. For our wet ingredients, we have what is called a liquid measuring cup. It measures volume. It comes in various sizes. It can come in size 1 cup to 2 cup. We even have one little handy here that is based upon teaspoon and tablespoon. Okay, so with that, we are going to get started. It's also important to note that Fields shared with us in her review that flour sometimes would have lumps, bits of millstone, or insects. So with your recipe, if it calls for sifted flour, it's very important that you follow that step. We want to recreate a culinary masterpiece, therefore we will follow the recipe. Our recipe, we're good. With improved processing now, you have less instances of insects or millstone or things or particles in the flour. So my recipe did not call for sifted flour. I want to note that with baking, it is important to mix wet and dry ingredients separately. That helps to make sure that all of the ingredients are evenly distributed. So in this bowl of flour, our dry ingredient, we have 2 cups of all-purpose flour, We have 1 cup of Swan's cake flour. And we also have a half a teaspoon of baking powder. Our wet ingredients, which I did pre-mix, we have half a cup of vegetable oil. We have 2 complete sticks of butter. We have 3 room temperature eggs. The eggs and the butter are both room temperature, so they have sat out for several hours beforehand. Also in this bowl, we do have our 3 cups of sugar. Now I know that is a dry ingredient. However, for the purposes of baking a cake, sugar goes in with the wet. So we have that mixed in. We have our next wet ingredient of lemon extract. Our lemon extract is actually 2 teaspoons. It is a liquid. We have our little cup here. So we are going to pour. In we go. You see, now that we have those completely mixed, the last part of the cake involves mixing of dry into wet. That is an alternative step, which you also use milk to help blend it down. Before we start, this is the point in the recipe where I like to turn the oven on so that it can start to preheat. And since I'm in my home, my oven is already set at 350. We're going to go ahead and quickly mix our ingredients up. Get that going. And we mix. You want to make sure that you are alternating between mixing in flour and adding the milk. A little here. It is actually very quick, and again, you want to make sure that your items are evenly distributed. So as we're finishing this up, yes, I'm making a real cake. I want to show you, as you see here, your measuring tools. I have a plastic spatula, I have a wood spoon, I have stainless steel cups, and I have glass cups. It really is your preference on which tools you utilize. Okay? Oh. And with baking, sometimes there is a slight mess. Now, for the sake of presentation, you see the alternation between the wet, the dry, and the milk, which yes, I will finish baking this cake. You then want to get your pan. Some people grease their pans at the very beginning of their mixing process. I like to do mine at the end so that the oils don't settle just in the base of the pan. I'm using the Pan Baking with Flour spray. You can use vegetable oil and flour mixture. It really depends upon how you want your crust to turn out. With it, you give it a good shake. A good spray, and see that flour nice and sprayed. At that point, you pour your ingredients, your mixture, which I do want to show you. There's loveliness right here. This loveliness will go into this pan. The pan will then go into the oven at 350 for an hour. Okay, 1 hour is how you want to do that, and you'll be able to tell from just looking at it. You don't want to keep opening the oven door. You want to make sure you have your light on your oven. Keep an eye on it. Now, one thing that you can do, there's a toothpick test. Once you've taken your cake out of the oven, the top is nice and golden. You want to find a little ridge, place a toothpick in it, and pull it out. When that toothpick comes out clean, you have a baked cake, a fully baked cake. In the end, once you've completed your process, because this is a pound cake, you can either put 2 scoops of ice cream, you can put a icing drizzle on it and enjoy. I hope that this presentation has definitely shown you how with 3 simple steps, mixing ingredients, measuring proper ingredients, and blending, and a nice baked cake, a nice baked mixture can create a wonderful cake. Thank you. Happy baking!